cut out.
Yes, Canlis. Can you hear me?
I'm here.
Welcome. So we're gonna have you log out in just a moment. That's closed session. You can leave superintendent.
Lori, I can't hear you. Do you want me to log out?
Yes, hold on just a minute. The superintendent is going to send.
I'm
you-
here.
Welcome. So we're gonna log out in just a minute. That's closed session. The superintendent will send.
Lori,
you a
I
second-
can't hear you. Do you want me to log out?
Yes, hold on just a minute.
Yes.
I'm here. Lori,
Can you hear me?
we can't hear you,
Candace, can you hear
Lori.
me?
Linda, I'm
No,
gonna send.
we're having a hard time hearing you, Lori.
I'm gonna send you a text.
Yes.
Hold on, we're sending you a text.
We can't hear
Candace, can you hear me?
No, we're having a hard time hearing you, Lori.
Can you speak her out?
Hold on, we're sending you a text.
Well, I can't hear her.
Linda, can you hear me?
You want me to leave? That's what I'm using right now, the link from John. Okay, hold on. Let me log out.
I'll send you the link to closed
That's
session.
what I'm using right now, the link from
Okay.
from John. Okay, hold
Okay.
on. Let me log out.
Can I convene and then we can? Okay. Right. I'd like to call to order the Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, January 18th, 2022.
John, okay, hold on. Let me log out.
coming up with might actually be solution to that. I may be doing some work with a team out in Sweden, so that might be the next step. Which is only 8 hours, not 13.
Jump.
Yeah.
When having a say like
Yeah, being scientist there.
Yeah. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
It would be her new understanding of the community. And that would be the one that's.
You hanging in there, Clay?
Trying, yeah.
Man, what a rough go.
Yeah, I was telling Valdez, yesterday, found out my aunt was getting heart surgery this morning. My great grandpa fell 3 times last week and had a broken femur, so yesterday he had surgery. Yeah, and my uncle went home Sunday from seeing his daughters, come to find out, got broken into. I'm just like, okay, too much. That's too much.
All right,
Thank you,
let us know if there's anything we can do.
for sure, thank you. Hang it in
Anything
there.
else? Are we ready? We're waiting for Linda. Huh?
Yeah, it's on this. The next one. Yeah.
Still waiting for her?
Yeah, it's not sure that an invite, you might want to go ahead and.
Okay. All right, the board will now convene to open session and report out from closed session. If you are joining us online via the Zoom webinar and you would like to provide public comment for this meeting, you may do so by utilizing the raise your hand option in Zoom. Or if you are calling in by phone, please press *9 and wait to be called upon. Community members may still provide public comments to the board prior to each meeting via email at publiccomment@nhusd.k12.ca.us. There were no comments provided to the board for tonight's meeting via the public comment email address. I would like to remind the public that we will not be responding to questions posed by those making public comments. Relative to closed session items 3.1 through 3.5, there's nothing to report. Please stand and join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have roll call, please.
Alderman.
Here.
Campbell. Ishihira.
Here.
Shima.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Spinelli.
Here. All right, the next item is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda? I move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Calderon,
Aye.
Campbell,
Here.
Aye. Aye.
Sheila,
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Swift.
Aye. Can we amend the record to show member Cameron is present? Thank you. All right. Our next item is the land acknowledgement. We want to open up, Member Calderon, would you like to read the land acknowledgement this evening?
Sure, thank you. We want to open up this meeting by acknowledging with respect and love that the land we're on today is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Ohlone Chicano First People. To recognize and thank the Ohlone people as the original stewards of this land, indigenous people must not be spoken about in past contexts as if they are left on their own accord when the real causes were white supremacy, manifest destiny, and U.S. colonization. By recognizing we stand on the occupied indigenous territory of the Ohlone people, we recommit ourselves to listen to Native leadership and stand in solidarity with people struggling against systems of oppression throughout the world, past and present.
Thank you. Our next item, item 6.1 is public comment, hearing of visitors on topics not on the agenda. Are there any blue cards for topics that are not on the agenda? None. Are there any speakers via Zoom that wish to address the board on topics that are not on the agenda? We have three. Okay. Okay. Ms. Arjun, you have 2 minutes to speak. If you go over 2 minutes, you will be muted. Looks like he's muted. Muted. Oh. Please unmute yourself. Okay, it seems we're having technical difficulties. Do we want to move to the next person and circle back? Okay.
You gotta move that color. Apologize.
I can hear you.
Vida, move color.
Veda, okay. You have 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm Veda Gotamukala, a junior at James Logan High School and the co-founder of JLHS Students Against Sexual Assault. As women of color on this campus, going to school has become dangerous and a daily mental battle rather than educational. Every day, I scan my classroom to see if there's an assaulter or harasser, and on the several days that I do find one, I remain mentally and emotionally stuck, and I don't know what adult I can reach out to on the campus. Every day I walk onto campus reminding that this is not a school, but this is a safe haven for criminals. New Haven grounds not only hoard sexual violators, but also curate them. In order to solve this issue, we need educational changes. We need to start teaching consent not only in middle school, but in elementary school. Consent is not a difficult or a taboo topic to teach, and we can teach it through high fives, we can teach it through hugs. Conversations around consent should not be considered a taboo. And if for any second, any of you think that sexual violence is not an issue on your campus, think about it this way. My club would not exist if we did not see an issue with the way you're handling the issue of sexual violence and assault on high school grounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Okay, Divya, are you able to unmute yourself and speak?
Yes, I am able to do that. So,
Wonderful. Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Divya Arjun, and I am president of the Girl Up Club at Logan. One of my club's purposes is to combat inequality everywhere. This includes ensuring that people who speak up against sexual harassment or sexual violence feel comfortable in their environment. Recently, I spoke to Logan staff regarding current measures in place for exactly this. What I found out is that when teachers perform community building exercises at the beginning of the year, it is for a multitude of purposes. Primarily, Logan wants to foster a sense of strong connection. In general, this is of course important, as it allows for people to grow friendships and generally feel secure knowing that they are in an environment where everyone supports them. This same sentiment extends to survivors who will potentially speak up. The exercises are in place to allow more safety for this specifically. This is certainly needed because everyone deserves to feel safe at school. However, I feel the effects of whatever activities are done are only felt for a few weeks. Many others agree. After that, it simply fizzles out. Trauma from harm, however, does not. So I propose that teachers continue performing these exercises throughout the year and carve out time every month for a presentation discussing domestic violence hotlines and the extent of the effects of the survivor's trauma. More specifically, domestic violence hotlines are already on our ID cards, but they should remain a point of emphasis. This way, people feel like they can come forward and not be harmed farther, and others will be more sympathetic towards survivors after hearing what they've gone through mentally many times. This will create a lasting positive effect on the culture surrounding sexual assault on campus. Thank you.
Thank you. So you have another speaker?
We have 3 more now.
3 more speakers. Next.
Joe Coliangelis.
Okay, Mr. Angeles.
There I am. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Good evening, President Shun Mallory, Vice President Gonzalez, Board Clerk Chima, and other trustees, and of course, the student rep, Dr. Thompson, district staff, and certificated, classified community members in the gallery and at home. I just wanted to kind of bring your attention, and hopefully the board can prioritize along with the district, the continued focus on trying to serve our special ed program, in particular the elementary program, where we've had several discussions with the district trying to solve the resource shortage that is serving our students in the classroom, and of course supporting our staff, both certificated and classified. We've been trying to get better attention on it. Unfortunately, we have realized the mitigation of the staffing shortage, but there has to be some kind of answer to this need, because it's still causing frustration of both to the staff as well as students in trying to complete their day in the classrooms without the right resources that should be available for their identified special needs. So I did want to again remind us to try to really get some kind of answer, because obviously the idea of the comeback that what we're trying our best really doesn't help except to increase the frustration and bringing teachers to their wits' ends, as well as the classified staff who's supporting in the classroom. So it is a critical place under the sun, and hopefully we can kind of continue our priority and focus on this. Obviously, we're already on the second start of the school year. So we appreciate your continued help and priority on this need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
David Hernandez.
Okay, David Hernandez.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, good evening, board. My name is David Hernandez. I'm the executive director of the New Haven Teachers Association. Good evening. Hope you all having a good evening yourselves. I just wanted to make a comment in regards to a couple of things. One, I just want to give kudos to the district for their continuous collaboration with NHTA in dealing with everything that's COVID right now, making sure that our programs are moving forward, making sure that the teachers are getting what they need in regards to masks, cleansing of the classrooms. And I also want to remind the board to please don't forget the adult education program that exists in the New Haven School District. A lot of times adult school educations are kind of looked on the outside and not necessarily given the full love of the rest of the family. And I just wanted to give a shout out to them and to just remind the district that the adult education program is part of the New Haven Teachers Association, and that we look forward and meeting and working with the district and making sure that the adult school of education is getting what they need in order to provide a good, viable program for the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Mesha Metanasala.
Okay. Masha, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Good evening. My name is Misha Mittenasala, and I'm a junior at James Logan High School and a member of the Students Against Sexual Assault Club. I'd like to draw to attention the current state of dealing with sexual assault in our extracurricular activities. Our school is known for its stellar sports teams, successful band, nationally recognized forensics team, impactful clubs, and everything in between. But in our perfect perception, there are many issues. I am disappointed at this board's inability to keep our extracurriculars safe. The fact that people are considering quitting their extracurriculars or have already quit due to the harassment and abuse they experience by teachers or students of that activity is upsetting. Their stories are completely invalidated when the perpetrator continues to participate, and when they are brave enough to take action and attempt to kick them out of the activity, they are faced with the response of, "We can't deny your perpetrators access to this activity because as a student of the New Haven School Unified District, he, she, or they has access to everything the school has to offer." Why is this the narrative that this school district is supporting? Where is the accountability? The abuser gets little to no consequences for their actions. Today, our system makes your students pay the price for their perpetrators' actions by requiring them to give up the things that they love in order to ensure their own safety. What should be happening is the perpetrator should lose access to the activity as they are endangering the safety of many more students. Access to extracurriculars is not guaranteed liberty. It's a privilege that needs to be taken away when an act is committed. James Logan High School can never be considered a safe place without addressing these issues. I am asking this board to take a step back and look at the effects of sexual assault and harassment on our students. Go back to the drawing board and pass proposals that rewrite this narrative and that can actually keep their students safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have more speakers?
Janice Morse.
Okay, Janice?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Good evening, board members. My name is Janice Morse. I'm a senior at JLHS and the co-founder of Students Against Sexual Assault. I'm here to present the ongoing issue of sexual assault.
Oh, I think we lost you, Janice. Okay. Lord, Ms. Felder accidentally muted you. She will fix that.
Oh, is it better now?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
start time over again, so you have the full 2 minutes.
All right, thank you. Okay. Good evening, board members. My name is Janice Morse, a senior at JLHS and the co-founder of Students Against Sexual Assault and Sexual Harassment. And I'm here to present the ongoing issue of sexual assault within our school district. As someone who has had the image of our school being a safe haven ripped away from them, I can sympathize with the rest of their student body. We are tired. It is exhausting to know that I've never made a female identifying friend on campus who has not been sexually assaulted here at school or assaulted by someone who attends Logan. As students, we are targeted by other students, and when we try to confide in a supposed trusted adult, our problems are pushed aside. In third grade, a teacher from this district took away my ability to say no, and this wasn't the first or last time. Until we give survivors their proper justice and on-campus resources, nothing will ever change. Whether this includes reformative justice or immediate expulsion, as a community, we need to give back to those who have their right to choose stripped from them. I mentioned my history within the district since it's been an enormous cross to bear trying to protect your student body from perpetrators, but I can no longer do this alone. Not only am I a student, but I am 17. This is an enormous burden I've had to carry with me for the past 9 years. I need help from the district to take on accountability and help our survivors on campus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have another speaker.
Jobji Batra.
Can you repeat that?
Jobji Batra.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Hi, my name is Jobji Batra and I'm a junior at James Logan High School. I am here today with the Students Against Sexual Assault, Sexual Harassment Club. We can all agree that this issue that we're discussing here is highly sensitive and should receive great attention. The thing is, sexual assault should have been in our school curriculum a long time ago. For example, it should be taught in life skills. I personally did not learn anything about this in life skills. This topic affects everyone and the safety of everyone, which is why it's necessary to incorporate it one way or the other. The number one priority is the safety of our students. Our survivors don't necessarily feel that way. Knowing that the perpetrator is walking around is frightening. I don't feel safe in this environment, and I know many more feel the same. So some disciplinary action needs to be taken. Something needs to be done about it. Because the survivor is our number one priority, the survivor should have a say in what action needs to be taken. We're not talking about legal action here. Restorative justice, if agreed to by the survivor, is perhaps one very good option. Suspension or expulsion are also actions that may be necessary. What shouldn't happen is nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker. That's all of our speakers for now. Thank you, everyone who came to speak to us. Okay, the next item is speakers on items that are on the agenda. Again, if you would like to speak and you are on Zoom, please use the raise your hand function or press *9 for items on the agenda. Are there any requests for topics on the agenda? No. Are there any speakers on Zoom for items that are on the agenda?
Number one, Alyssa Lula.
Okay, Alyssa.
Hello.
Hello. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Elisa Ulloa. I'm a senior at James Logan and co-founder of Students Against Sexual Assault and Organization on Campus. Currently, James Logan has an issue, that being that students don't feel safe on campus or around peers that they see on the way to and from it. As a student who does not feel safe, I can say that one of the main reasons this issue persists is because of the lack of support that sexual assault survivors receive from staff and administrators. Teachers are making fun of the subject in classrooms, making students feel like it is okay to assault their peers. Staff dismiss the red flags that a student points out to them and wave off what the student is feeling. I walk into a classroom and I see known assaulters as well as my own, but I am forced to resume my schoolwork, operating at half of my potential as I focus on my safety. When confronting staff, we are told that the perpetrators have a right to their education. However, to that, I ask, at what cost? We must protect the survivors of the situation and their own right to learn from those who not only endanger their education, but their safety as well. I propose that in order to prevent further sexual assault, the curriculum for not only students of all ages, but staff as well, must include instruction on consent. At the elementary level, students can learn the consent that goes into a hug, while as they age, they see where consent applies in other areas of their lives. Staff must understand when they see a student performing an action without their peers' consent and must have proper knowledge on how to write up a report on the encounter. People throughout the district must understand what consent is as well as the importance behind it. Not only must this curriculum change, but there should be a restorative justice option for the perpetrators. Survivors can choose whether or not they feel comfortable enough to do it, and restorative justice would allow the perpetrator to change and prove that they still have privilege to their education. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder that this item is for topics on the agenda. Do we have any more speakers for topics on the agenda? No more raised hands. Okay, thank you very much. Our next item is item 8.1, the Promethean board presentation. A presentation on our fabulous smart boards. Are you ready for that?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, can you make her? There we go.
Hello, everyone. Can you see me in front of the panel and then see the shared screen of the panel screen?
Yes. Ms. Thomas, is there where you can make her bigger? No?
Get out of gallery.
I don't think I can make it bigger, no.
Oh.
She's gonna be presenting on the big screen.
Okay.
So the big screen is actually what she's gonna be showing.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. I am very excited to be here today to show you some of the awesome tools and features of the Promethean Active Panel. My name is Justine Ramirez, and I am New Haven's education consultant. I am here to deliver trainings, grade level and subject level demos, one-on-one tutorials, and overall support as teachers are integrating this technology into their instruction. The Active Panel is a tool that really modernizes the classroom. You no longer have to worry about replacing those costly projectors and those pull-down screens and using a bunch of different cables to connect all of the devices. You have everything that you need in the Active Panel. It really brings the classroom into the 21st century and meets our digitally native students where they are and how they learn best. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to the Promethean Active Panel. And I have a short little Sea Turtle demo lesson to kind of highlight some of these awesome tools and features that the teachers are using in their classes. So I'm going to open up our unified menu here at the bottom, which has our Promethean pre-installed app. I'm going to open our interactive whiteboard. And as soon as the whiteboard opens, I can begin annotating. There is no lag because we use the Beryllium writing technology. And we also have a palm erase feature, which allows teachers to erase any unwanted annotations on the panel. And what's really great about the panel itself is it's an infinite canvas. And what that means is I can actually zoom out, and you can see here, I have a bunch of different activities for students, and you can essentially have your entire lesson in your whiteboard ready to go. That allows for that streamlined instruction. And so I'm just going to come over here. We have a little sea turtle fact activity. And the panel itself has 20 points of simultaneous touch. And so what that means is you could have a bunch of different students up at the panel working on it simultaneously together. So I'm just pulling over these facts into our little sea turtle picture here. And we have our last fact here. Can sea turtles retract into their shells? And no, they cannot. This is just one of those really simple, easy layering activities that teachers can create in the whiteboard to really enhance that student engagement and interactivity with their lessons. So I'm going to zoom back out here, and we're going to move on down to my little sea turtle notes. And I actually inserted this image into the panel, but you also have the option to change the background of the whiteboard itself. You can use graph paper or lined paper, but for these purposes, I'm going to go ahead and just use the paper here that I've inserted into the whiteboard. And today we are going to be talking about sea turtle cleaning stations. And what's really awesome about all of the windows that you open up in the panel is it has a multi-window function in this toolbar here at the bottom. So I can actually push the whiteboard to one side of the panel which gives me room to open up different windows and really insert different content into my instruction to kind of diversify that kind of content. So I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to open up my YouTube app. We got a little cleaning station video. And then I'm going to also open up my Google Maps here to really enhance my instruction. And I can play this YouTube video and take notes in my whiteboard at the same time. And then I can even pull it out and make it into a full screen view and really give the students that 4K 360 viewing experience of this cleaning station. And at any point, I can pause the video, open up my unified menu, and take a screen capture of this image and insert it into my whiteboard notes, which really adds just that visual component to the notes for our visual learners. And then I'm just going to come back over here to my Google Maps and make that full screen for us. And we may want to talk about where this sea turtle cleaning station may be. So I'm going to come down here to my unified menu and pull out my Annotate tool. And the Annotate tool allows me to be able to annotate on top of anything that's displayed on the panel, including this Google Maps here. So this sea turtle cleaning station is actually in Lahaina. So I'm just going to go ahead and label that. And you can see I can just annotate right on top of whatever's displayed. And then I can come back down here and take a screen capture of the map and crop it so I only include the bit that I want. And I can insert that into the whiteboard as well to really enhance those visuals for our visual learners. And then coming back into the whiteboard, making that full screen, we're going to continue on my little whiteboard adventure, and we're going to come up here to a matching activity that I've created for the lesson. And at some point during the lesson, you may want to have multiple students working on an activity at the same time up on the panel. And so I can actually activate dual person mode. And you can see it splits the whiteboard into two spaces, and we have our student toolbars at the bottom. And so this student may want to work with a highlighter today, and this student may want to work with a red pen. And then they can come up here to the panel and actually be working on the activity at the very same time and completing that. Now, another really great feature of the panel is our screen share application. And the screen share app allows teachers to share their devices to the panel without having to use any cables. It's completely wireless. And our students are able to share their screens on their Chromebooks to the panel as well using the Chrome extension. And so I'm just going to pop off screen for just a moment so I can hop onto my Chromebook over here so I can show you guys what that looks like. And I'm just going to connect my Chromebook screen really quick. And just to show you that you can connect multiple devices on the panel at the same time, I'm also connecting my cell phone device just for the demo here. Okay, so then I could pop into my waiting room and I can share I can have 39 devices in my waiting room at one time, and I can share up to 4 different student screens at the same time. And the teacher has complete control over which screens are shared and when they're shared. So you won't have students, popping up on the screen randomly throughout the lesson. The teacher has complete control over that. So I'm just going to share my 2 device screens here. You can see I've got my Chromebook screen on the left with some sea turtle facts, and then I have my phone with some sea turtle images on the right. And I can pull open that unified menu and I can grab that Annotate app again, and I can take some notes and give some feedback and highlight some great things that the students are doing with their sea turtle facts. And then I can even come down and grab that screen capture, and I can pull that into the whiteboard and export it directly into my Google Drive, which is connected to the panel, at which point I can pop into my Google Drive and upload it to Canvas or Seesaw or whatever LMS system I'm using to communicate with parents and students. And so they have access to all of those notes that I'm giving them from here. And the last feature I would like to go over is the Chromebox. And the Chromebox is a device that the district purchased to go with the panel. And the Chromebox essentially is a Google device. And what it does is it allows the teacher's Chromebook to be on the panel without having to connect or use any cables. All the teacher needs to do is log in with their Google credentials, as I'm doing now. And voila, you've got your Chromebook right here on the panel. No cables or anything needed. And you can see here, I can pop open my launcher. And I have all of my Google apps, all of my apps that I use in class just right here, easily accessible. So I don't even need to worry about downloading apps to the panel or anything like that. I can open up my Chrome browser. I have all of my bookmarks, including my New Haven bookmarks. I can access the Clever portal from here as well. And it just really streamlines that instruction so we can minimize those transition periods and really just get into the nitty-gritty of the lesson. And the teachers have access to the entire Google ecosystem from the Chromebox. And so it's a really great device to work with the panel, especially because we are a Google district. And I believe that is all the time I have for today. So I hope you enjoyed your very quick demo of the features and all of the great apps. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez, for that wonderful presentation. Do you have any questions?
No, just thank you. So
It's so amazing to see the technology that in our classrooms and the teachers, they're utilizing the best tools.
Yeah, what I will say is, I think it's really good. I actually did talk to Ms. Ramirez last week and got a full hands-on demonstration. So if any board members have the opportunity to, I would suggest to book some time with Justine and actually give it a test drive for yourself. It'd be really good for all of us to be, really familiar with the technology that we're asking our teachers and staff to use. So best way is to roll up your sleeves and jump in. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lance. Anytime, come on by and try out the panel for sure.
Thank you. Okay, the next item we have is 8.2 district update from Superintendent Thompson.
All right, well, the topic that we're dealing with more than any other topic right now is what's going on with COVID and trying to keep everybody in school. And so I've got an update on a number of different areas. Let me make sure my clicker works here. Oh, look at that, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to touch on a variety of different things. If you've been following any of the updates I've sent out, some of this will be a review, but I have the updated numbers from at the end of last week. So I'll hit on these areas, kind of what's going on across the county and the district, and then in some of the core areas that we're always focused on right now. All right, moving ahead. Last Thursday, as you know, we meet weekly with the public health officers in one form or another, and we get an update from across Alameda County. And so as of last week, they shared, this is with Dr. Moss and a couple of his staff members, that they are seeing the highest number of positive cases that they've seen yet. No surprise there, and no surprise also that the symptoms seem to be much less severe. This is always interesting for us. We always want to stay tuned into what is happening with students and children. And as of last week, we learned that there are very, very few hospitalized students with COVID, and there were none in the ICUs. So that's good news, and that's across all of Alameda County. And they shared that between a third and half of all of the hospitalizations in general are for things that are in the COVID ward, or for things they go in for things that are other than COVID, but they test positive when they're there, so they get put in the COVID ward. Doesn't make it any easier for them when they're obviously in the COVID ward, and that they're experiencing some significant testing shortages, the shortage of the supplies. And they reiterated every time we were with them that they feel that students are safer in schools and that we're not creating any additional risk by having students in school. So that was as of last Thursday. And they talked about how they're going to start shifting there's an intent to shift from, in terms of identifying folks with COVID, away from towards those that are symptomatic rather than those that are being exposed. And I think that's probably due to the high numbers and the less severe cases. So that's across the county. In our district, I'll give a quick overview and then hit on some of the highlights. So we, like the county, have experienced the highest number of positive test cases, the highest number of student and staff absences that I can remember. And we had some brief testing shortages, but we've still been able to test, offer student and staff testing on a daily basis. And I'll get into some of those numbers coming up. And we have, we're expecting a lot more PPE coming. And again, I'll touch on that when we get into PPE. So let's go into some numbers. Last week, we towards the end of the, all the way through Friday morning, it looked like we were trending down, that our case rates were dropping last week. But by the end of Friday, when we got all of the numbers in, we ended up trending upwards. So that was, and you know, I was surprised. I thought we were heading in the other direction. Let's just stop there. And here are the specifics. So during the first week back from winter break, we had 354 total positive test cases. Last week, we jumped to 456. So that increase at the end of the week, really, it caught me by surprise because it didn't look like we were trending that way at all. And of those 456, 411 were students and 45 were staff members. So moving forward, just to keep in mind, to get some perspective, we have about, if you combine staff and students, that's about a total, we're close to about 12,000 staff and students total. So of those 12,456 had tested positive, which is a positivity rate of about 3.8% of our total population. So in perspective that way, it doesn't look terrible, but again, the numbers at the top are higher than we've seen. We've come nowhere close throughout the rest of this year. All right, so just to give you an update on our dashboard, it is there on, it's updated weekly. Our cycle, we take data from Saturday through Friday. So any of the test results over the weekend, throughout the week, are completed. We take that total by Friday evening. Then our staff works on Saturday to reconcile those numbers. What we found is we have some people that test multiple times. So you have to weed those out. Sometimes we get people that'll bring in a home test, then they'll take the test over at Logan, and then they'll go over to the family center and take an antigen test. So that's 3 tests, and we want to make sure this don't count as 3 cases, if that makes sense. And sometimes they'll test multiple times per week just to see if it goes away, or if they have it. So anyway, that's something that takes quite a bit of time for our staff to work on Saturday. And those are, like I said, we have multiple ways that people can report positive tests to us, which makes it challenging. But we have some really dedicated people working on it. Okay, so for our testing options, we have the ones that you're aware of. We have our Logan, the main center at Logan. We have a rotating testing group that goes from around. They have a schedule that fits every site. And then we have the family center has the antigen testing on a daily basis. New addition, we have the county office has added testing for staff, and that's 7 days a week, which is nice. So they can go in on a Saturday or Sunday and get tested if they need it. And then we also do pool testing, which means that if we have a group that can go into a classroom and with consent, test the class as a whole. And if anybody tests positive, then we can do individual testing after that. So that's a nice option. And we had, as you know, before winter break, we distributed about close to 10,000 take-home tests. We don't have any, well, we have very few left, and we're reserving what we have left for staff members who need to take a test in order to be able to return to work. But we don't have any more take-home tests for just general use. But I heard that the government's testing option may be available as early as today, actually, from what I heard. So that should help for those that want that kind of test. So just to let you know kind of what these folks are doing, our main testing site. There we go. The Logan Center tests about 400 people per day. And so that's about 2,000 tests per week that they're cranking through there, which is great. And then over at the Family Center, they're pretty close. They're averaging about maybe it's better. There we go. About 1,700. Last week they tested almost 1,800 people. So we're real close to close to 4,000 tests per week that we're running through our facilities. And again, if we have 12,000 total people in our general population, that's about a third that are being tested every week. All right, there's that. Okay, now attendance has been something that we've been tracking very closely. So this is pretty interesting. Even with what you hear about everything going on out there, it's good to know that over the past 2 weeks, we've had the overwhelming majority of our kids coming to school every day on an average of 74%. A little more the first week, a little less last week, but for an average of 74%, which is great. And we're seeing that with our staff too, that the majority of our staff are coming. Let's see. And the schools where what we're seeing trend-wise is that our elementary schools have the lowest attendance. And then the secondary schools have higher attendance. So probably because in elementary schools, sometimes they send out a whole class and those kids are gone for a period of time, where it's a little different at the high schools. And we have, quite frankly, at the middle and high schools, a lot more vaccinated kids. So that's probably helpful too. All right. Batteries getting low. So staff absences are our biggest challenge, really. And last week, we were averaging about 59 teachers out per day, certificated staff members. And that's for all reasons, not just COVID, but for, there's some on maternity leave, a number of batteries. Classified staff, an average of about 36 per day. So that's, hang on. Can you advance it once? Okay. So what we've been spending. Oh, all right. Thanks. Hang on. I think I've got it. I've got it. Sorry, technical. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. This is. Okay, so the impact of that is, we've been averaging about 31 uncovered classes per day. So we have about 450 classrooms in the district, and about 31 of them are going uncovered on a daily basis since the beginning of January, so for the last 2 weeks. And what we're doing with staff, the staff's being deployed to work to help at the sites. We're doing some regrouping. In some cases where staff are out, the students are also gone too. So it's not quite as significant. If there's no one to cover a class, but there's no students there, then that doesn't hurt as much. So at the elementary level, that's the case a little more. But I gotta hand it to our teachers and our classified staff and our administrators for really, really doing a great job of making this work in a number of different ways, and they use a number of different strategies. And our district staff here providing support as they can. Although we've been down staff numbers here too. So for us, the other impact is there's very little going on at the district office right now, other than just providing direct support to schools. And we put, as you'll see in an upcoming information item, we're proposing moving a lot of our meetings, pushing them out a little bit, because quite frankly, we don't have the staff to prepare for some of those meetings right now. So, that's an impact, but our most important goal is, again, for those 74% of the kids that are coming to school every day, to try to keep them engaged in learning and our schools open. So for PPE, sorry, I'm clicker problems. Okay. All right, so for all of our staff members, they have been given access to 2 different types of N95 masks. I know there was some question that you see on the left. There's the one with a vent, but that is still on the CDC recommended list. So we have a vented one, CDC approved, and the non-vented one on the right. All staff members have access to that. And coming up, we are expecting a delivery of approximately, for all staff and students, enough for Jeez. Because I don't know what's going on with the specter, but this thing is just not working well at all. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. And one more. One more. It sounds like better. Okay, so we have a 10-day supply for all staff and students coming up, and then the deliveries may have hit our county office as early as today. So we're hoping to be able to distribute that to staff and students soon for more. So we should have plenty for at least a while moving forward here. That's what we're counting on anyway. All right, let's see. So this is last week, the Alameda County Public Health Department also talked about masking, and they said that these are their recommendations for the use of masks, and for them it's all about wearing them all the time and for fit. They were really quick to point out that you could have an N95 mask, but if it's not fitting properly, it's a lot less effective than a good quality cloth mask that fits properly. And they said fit over filtration. They are not recommending for wide scale use N95 masks. They're just good masks that fit and wearing them. And for any mask, and particularly they were referencing those that had N95s, the question came up of how often you have to replace them. And their advice was you can wear them until they become visibly soiled, or the bands start to make the fit not a tight fit. So you can wear them more than once, which is good. And I see I got as far as wear them. That's it. And their biggest advice was wear them. The two things that they said in particular was get vaccinated and wear your mask. Wear a good mask. And those are the two biggest takeaways from the meeting last week. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Good to know. There's such a focus on N95. Again, we want to make sure that they fits and the quality and wearing consistently. All right, I'm done with that. So, all right, please move forward. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. All right, one more. All right, so for vaccinations, we have a large number of our students and staff vaccinated. I'd say the biggest update is that last week we launched a new system to try to make it easier for parents to upload their vaccination status for their students. Easier to upload and easier for us to track when it comes to contact tracing and identifying students, because the guidance varies a bit on what happens depending on whether or not you're vaccinated. So that we were happy to launch that last week. Go ahead, move forward, please. And okay, move forward one more. Let me go on to the next slide. Maybe. I think maybe it's not quite the problem. Keep going. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Okay, so the one of the things that we've been struggling with, as well, anybody's been struggling with, but schools in particular, is I think the guidelines for what to do with quarantine, isolating, contact tracing have changed probably 3 times over the last 2 weeks, maybe more, at least 3. And trying to keep track of what those are and how they work it has been a challenge. And the bottom line is, and I know this has been a source of frustration for some parents and staff members, is that you might have 2 people sitting next to each other in the same classroom, but the outcomes of what happens during exposure might be different depending on the fact-specific circumstances. And so we're really trying to do the best we can to keep students in school, and going through that process means that sometimes, one student may be in school while another person has to go home depending on the circumstances. It's getting to be more and more like that from what I can see. The best way and the best document that I know of to keep track of the changes, go ahead and move forward. Next slide, please. Is the Alameda County Office of Education document, and I'll show you what it looks like, and there's a link to it on the next slide. But the Alameda County Office of Ed has done a great job of trying to help schools. They have a document. This is found on their website. Go ahead and next forward, please. Okay. And one more, keep going. All right, no, okay, that's good. So this is the document. Well, you see me reference it if you follow any of the stuff, information that I'm putting out. This link is often there. It's on our website as well. And it has updated flow charts for what to do if you're a parent, staff member, and it contains the most up-to-date information in the most user-friendly, accessible way that I've found. So again, we use this document regularly to help us. So if you're a parent out there or a board member or whatever whoever you may be, this is a great guide. Okay, next slide. So, okay, this is where, and I've been getting, not so much this week, but in the past 2 weeks, a lot of questions about, can't we just go back to distance learning? A lot of misinformation about districts being closed. And the short answer is we do not have any authority to go back. Right now, every district in Alameda County is offering in-person instruction. Hayward was not last week. They tried a different approach. But there really is no legal way for us to go have anything but in-person instruction. And next slide, please. Okay, and you can just go all the way through. There's 3 bullet points on this slide. Okay, and I've shared these before, but short of a public health emergency, changes in the law, or staff shortages way beyond what we're seeing here, there is no mechanism for us to legally go to distance learning and have anything other than in-person instruction. Okay, next slide. Keep going. And so we're just going to keep going. And that's what our plan is right now until, hopefully things can get better in terms of case rates and whatnot. But until we're told differently, we'll keep plugging along and doing what we're doing. And it's been working so far. Okay, I think the next slide is the last slide. Please. Yeah. If there's any questions, that's it. Okay, hit it one more time. Please. Yeah, there we go. And that's it, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Superintendent Thompson, for the comprehensive information. And thank you so much for your in-between updates to the board members as well. In the beginning of your slides, you have mentioned this is the highest number of COVID cases. As I understand, it's highest number of COVID cases in our district so far, right?
Correct.
So it's not like comparing to other agencies or school districts or anything. So it's just our school district.
Yeah, I gave you the statistics.
Just want to clarify that part, yeah.
Right.
And we can mention. And I know you have million things to do at this time to run our schools. But I was interested in finding out maybe sometimes if we have that information. Like you mentioned that we have 59 staff members, I think they were absent due to the different reasons. Do we have similar data from the non-COVID era so that we have a real understanding that how COVID is impacting your staff? In case you can provide that data in the future, that will be more helpful to understand that how actually COVID is the reason for our staff absences.
So I think what you're asking is how many of those absences are related to COVID?
Before COVID, I mean, like there were, for example, 59 now average, and maybe there were 30 something before COVID. So what is the net effect of the COVID? That's what I'm trying to understand. Yeah,
and then so I think you could take, so we have, for example, last week we had 45 staff members absent per day. So for that had tested positive for COVID. And if you take the classified and it's, we can probably come up with something like that year over year. But it's pretty significant. If you go, I can give you just a quick example. We had 45 staff members that were positive last week. And as far as the absences go, we had let's see, I'll just do a quick addition for you here. So we had 95, actually there's a couple more because that doesn't count administrators, but so we had 95 absences per day, classified certificate, more or less, and 45 of those were for COVID. So now in other years, maybe some of those would have been for the flu or something else, but that's a pretty significant impact. So half the people out last week on it in general were out for COVID.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for all the information.
Yeah, all right.
Any other questions? I wanted to check in with member Gala, who's joining us virtually. Do you have any questions?
I do not have any question, but I do want to share that I appreciate all the extra work that the staff is doing, from the classifieds to the teachers, the principals, and the central office. I know these are hard times, so I just want to let you know that we appreciate all the extra work that you are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would also like to express that thank you to our administration and our staff and our teachers and everyone who's just jumped in during this difficult time, and to our students. Member Kaufman, you have something to say?
Yes. So thank you for the presentation, Superintendent Thompson. I wanted to know, do we have any idea of our numbers compared to other districts in Alameda County? How are we being impacted by the COVID surge compared to other districts? Just to have an idea, and I know that's been many things, community members, other students, and parents have also questioned. So for me as well, just to kind of have an idea, because we are one of the larger districts, but we're also a smaller district compared to quite a few districts I would name off the top of my head. So just kind of getting an average, so just a perspective on it would be nice.
Yeah, I can tell you anecdotally, last week we met with all the superintendents in Alameda County, and I'd say the numbers are similar in other places. Maybe there's little pockets. I think Hayward might have a few more, and a few less in some other places. But I would, in general, my sense is that this is a fairly typical amount of cases right now. I haven't had time to go through and look at. Actually, if you're curious, you can go. Most districts now have a dashboard up. It's pretty accessible. You can go find their numbers on the dashboard if you're curious about it. In individual, like maybe Fremont, for example. But I think our numbers, from what I'm hearing, both in terms of case rates and absences, are pretty comparable in Alameda County.
Thank you.
Member Gonzalez, Vice President.
Yes. Yeah, so kudos to our district, and one thing I'm so proud of our district is like always being on top of when it comes to our COVID safety plan is in place. But one of the things, like my sister's school district, she's also a teacher in another district, and the district I'm in Hayward. But what we did was we were part of the pilot program for the home testing kits. You guys were very proactive on that. So I want to give the people, Dr. Thompson, Derek McNamara, and who were the other?
Really, the people that were responsible were Sherry Dunfeld and Michelle Deception, our nurse. Those are the two that deserve all the credit. I think.
And not Derek McNamara.
Yeah, don't give credit to us. We're Derek, of course, works directly with them, but they're the ones that found out about it and jumped right on it.
And so saying that I have complete confidence in our district, I would like to direct Dr. Thompson, if you could reassure our community that we're going above and beyond with our COVID plan, safety plan, our protocols. There's no greater priority than the safety and health of our students and staff. So again, I'm very, very proud of that. We have a strong handle on like COVID cases, contact tracing, testing our protocols in comparison to most districts. And so, our district took a lot of heat last year when we didn't switch to in-person. You know, some of the comments were, you know, children don't get it like adults. It's just a common cold. You know, all those things. But with this new variant, Omicron, it's so different. It's so viral. And there's been, you know, and everything is new. I will say that though. We're learning like new stuff every day. Things change. And so the report that's been going on is Theodore Rule. He's the chief division at the Pediatric Infection Diseases and Global Health, UCSF. And he said that now we know that, you know, the kids weren't affected. They do get infections now, and some do die. And the reason for that being is because we closed the schools. You know, he said children were spared infections early on because he thinks it's because of the shutdown of schools, and they had less opportunity to run into infections at the school site. So, you know, so a lot of information. And I know this has been very politicized, you know, I mean, the masks, the vaccines, and it just, you know, it goes back and forth. But I would like to just double down on making this a priority because we were going, it was getting a little better, and then, you know, things change every day. And so if we have to table, we have to pause with some new curriculum or some kind of new testing, evaluation system to make our safety COVID plan even stronger, then so be it. So just in conclusion, you know, I mean, I want to, you know, and I know our culture now is with social media. A lot of people want to complain and blame people, and I try not to get involved with that, get caught up in that. But there needs something that we can do, and I'd like to urge my fellow board members that we need to come up with a resolution and demand that our county, state, and federal government, if they want to keep our schools open, then they need to provide the basics, which is PPE and home testing kits, hand sanitizers, cleaning products, funding for staff and substitutes. That they need to pony up on that. And we need to demand that from them. And so, getting back to Hayward, I was the last class standing. They say last, you know, teacher standing. That they didn't close my class, so I was 3 classes open that last Friday, and all my other colleagues they shut us down. My wife's school, they had 30 at that day in elementary. And so they had to switch to in person for a week to slow it down because we were already they shut our class and we were already in person. That's one of the protocols. We had to switch to in person. So it just made so much sense. And so I know the media took a lot of or criticized Hayward and for taking a stand for choosing safety over money. You know, I know they're criticized for they're going to lose all this money, ADA, and it was so worth it though. You know, I mean, to always side with when it comes to safety and health of your students and staff. You know, that's a priority. So kudos to Hayward for doing that. But again, getting back to what we can do, we need to come up, we need to demand from our state, federal government to come up with some money and a plan for that. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a
Just the last quick team up?
Yeah, thank you. Just a last comment during all this. While we are thanking our staff, students, and everybody in the school system, I would also like to commend our community members that they are cooperating with the schools and staff. I know there are some chatter on the social media, but sometimes I have noticed that some teachers, they have intervened to clear the facts. So on the social media, so that to educate people why it is happening and how much is happening. So this is, I was very impressed by the spirit of the people in the community coming together in this hard time. Thank you.
Thank you, and I would like to commend our student member, Connie Calderon, for stepping in on social media and clearing up some misconceptions. He did a really great Facebook post that was very, very unifying to our community and very informative. Definitely want to commend our administrators and staff and our nurses who got us take-home tests to send home before winter break. I know a lot of school districts were struggling to get at-home tests when we came back from winter break because there was a shortage. And so we avoided that and were able to have our students get tested before coming back to school. So that, I think, is a really good victory on our part. And I just want to recognize, you know, how everyone's been stepping up, teachers, staff, administrators, you know, working long days, covering for classes, doing things you wouldn't normally do, all for our students. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is our students. So thank you so much. And I had a question for you, Dr. Thompson. I know that the JLHS site was closed for a bit. Are they open now and they have enough tests?
Actually, they never closed. They shut down early one day, I think, last week, maybe 2 days. They are back open. I walked by them twice today, actually, and they had plenty of availability. The family center facility is open for business. And again, they just next door at the Logan facility, they can process about 400 tests a day.
Yep, I went today and was in and out in 7 minutes.
There you go.
I went last week to Union City Family Center during my 15-minute break. I drove there, got my test, and came back within 15 minutes. So it really is great, and you know, kudos to all the people who are working at those testing sites. Can you remind us and the public what the hours are for those locations?
Oh boy.
Do you remember?
They opened the Logan one opened at 10 this morning.
I think it's 10 to 6 at Logan. That's the right.
10 to 6.
10 to 6 at Logan.
6:30 to, well, yeah, they're all there, but 7:30 is when the public can come in, up until 4.
7:30 to 4 for the Union City Family Center, and it's open to students and staff.
That's right.
They had a bit of a rush this morning, but I was over there at about 11, and it was, you could walk up and
yeah, the earlier the worse in the morning there. It's the line super long, really early.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is item 9.1, a public hearing for the NHTA Sunshine proposal. I would like to open the public hearing. Are there any speakers? There being no speakers, this public hearing is now closed. We're on to 10 information items. Our first item, 10.1, is the governor's budget update for the 2022-23 school year. Presentation will be given by Ms. Heldman.
Good evening, Superintendent Thompson, President Sean Mallory, and trustees. Annette Heldman, I am your Chief Business Officer. So before COVID, January is a very energized, exciting time as far as the budget is concerned, because the initial proposals are unveiled or presented by the governor. It has taken a backseat, but it's still a very energized as far as the type of budgets that we heard with regards to January proposals. So we prepared a short presentation. So the governor released his January proposals on the 10th, as he does every year. And that budget comprised of $286 billion in spending. The budget, like we always say, tells a story, whether it's a household budget, a district budget, in this case, a state budget. It tells the story of what's important to that agency and the resources aligned to those things. And this page shows what that state story is with regards to the state budget of the 286 billion. And as you can see, the big chunks of that pie are public education, including community colleges, and of course, health and human resources. So this is that budget story as far as the state's concerned. So we take a big piece of that story in the form of Proposition 98. I believe the last update we presented to you, which was the latest in November based on the LAO report, was that we had a 31 billion projected surplus at the state level. That number is now 445.7 billion, which is part of the Proposition 98 proposal. So in this, so that is the piece of the education budget that is proposed under Prop 98. What I did here is simply list those major proposals for public education K-12. Of course, the most notable thing there is the cost of living adjustment of 5.33. That is the mandated calculation. And on top of that, there are nearly 17 billion being proposed for either new programs or building upon programs that were started, especially last year. And we will talk more about some of those notable programs that are getting a lot of attention from the governor. So the themes in terms of looking at the 400-page budget proposal by the governor, we summarize it in these different areas. As I mentioned earlier, continuing, there's $2.7 billion that he wants to spend to continue supporting us and agencies to negate the impacts of COVID-19. There are some programs that were started last year and he wants to build upon those programs. There are some proposed policy changes on some key legislative pieces and programs that we operate as a school agency. One of those, of course, as we're hearing a lot about it, given the fact that in this year, enrollment hasn't only been our problem. The yield of attendance to enrollment is also a huge challenge for us, as well as other school districts. And therefore, there are, to this day, I believe there are 3 pieces of legislation that are being proposed. The state knows this problem, and therefore there are 3 legislations so far that are proposed in order to revise how we get funded, how school districts get funded. And of course, independent study, special ed, and those other areas that are being proposed in terms of program changes and policy changes. The deadline for new bills is February 28th, so we might see more, especially as it addresses the ADA or the attendance yield to enrollment. With regards to the 5.33% proposed COLA, which of course will increase our base grant component of the LCFF, I just wanted to show what that means in terms of the dollar. For the different grade span averages, of course, those are TK to 3, grades 4 to 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 12. Now, these are not the only components of the local control funding formula, but we wanted to show what those base are. As I noted at the bottom of that slide, there is also some additional dollars that we get for TK to 3 and additional dollars that we get for 9 to 12, some augmentation dollars. And of course, for every students that we have that fall into the unduplicated pupil count, we also get some additional. We don't get any concentration because we do not exceed the 55% threshold. So to summarize, there's a lot of things in the budget, a lot of different proposals. We wanted to delineate the things that we know are not in that proposal. There is no additional to the base targets of LCFF. I know there is a COLA, but that is not an increase to the base. That is simply an obligation by the state to negate some of the inflationary cost increases. So We don't get that. We also don't get, while there's some money allocated for pension cost increases, that is not on our side. It's actually helping the state side of things, not local agencies like us. And of course, we don't have any one-time discretionary funds, which we got used to under the Governor Brown era. We could do some of that now, but there's nothing in the 400-page budget that talks about that. So now let's bring it home to the local level. What does all of these mean to us? As you know, the cutoff for second interim, which is the financial data that we would be working on, is the end of this month. Just as a rewind, when we presented the first interim report, this was our multi-year projection. As you can see, we have deficit spending in all 3 years. And at that time, given the sets of data that we had, we said that we would have a third-year budget problem, but we would proactively try to address that in the second year. This is just a recap or a reminder of what the budget of record we have and the sets of data that we will be working on. Now, what changes can we expect with regards to what we heard from the January proposals? These are the 3 major things that would change our formula. What we receive from the local control funding formula. I wanted to share with you now that we have the certified enrollment numbers. At the last report, we didn't have those. They were not certified yet, submitted to the state. We actually are lower by an additional 79 students. So in other words, we projected a drop of 250. We actually lost 329. Now that COLA will now be updated. At the last budget of record, we projected a 2.48% COLA for 22-23. That set of numbers will now be updated in the formula calculation. And as I mentioned earlier, enrollment has only been our challenge. Attendance has also been a big challenge for us. We certified our period 1 report recently, and our district had always been about 95.5% in terms of that yield. That number that we submitted for period 1 was about 90%. So again, the state knows this, and we can expect some changes in the way that how we're going to be funded moving forward. So in terms of next steps, today we're presenting to you a 10,000-foot level in terms of what those proposals are and how it could impact our second interim report and out-year projection. And the next steps that we normally do during this time of year by statute, we would be working on the second interim report. And in terms of what we heard recently, it is a good budget. It doesn't solve all our problems. I think especially this past year, it really highlighted the fact that money doesn't solve all our problems. It gives us, this budget is a positive budget. It gives us the financial resources. It does not give us the people resources that we need very badly. This is a proposal at this point. As you know, it's a long road ahead. There's going to be, I believe, some budget hearings and subcommittee hearings. So all of those will happen leading to the May revise. Lots to be unpacked. In fact, if I go back to this list, maybe I would close with this list. There's still a lot that needs to be unpacked here. We don't know which one is formula driven, which one is competitive, meaning we have to apply for it, which one is absolutely going to be funded by one-time state resources, which means for us, we have to plan it accordingly, or which one will be funded by ongoing resources at the state level. So again, the next step would be the second interim, and that will be presented to you March 8th, I believe. And that report will include some of the things that are known at this point and anything that we get information on leading to that time frame. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Hellman. Any questions for Tima? Starting here first.
So there was some conversation about how will we calculate the number of students, ADA versus enrollment, and also because of a lot of absences in the last and previous year because of COVID. So what are the base ADA for the calculation for ICFF?
So current law is for a declining district like us, we would base it on the higher of current year or prior year. Now remember, we had a hold harmless provision for 2021. In other words, we used the 1920 ADA for 2021. The proposal, one of the Senate bill that are being proposed right now is adding a third choice, a third option to that, which is a rolling average of the last 3 years. It's still a proposal. We don't know if it would pass. There's also been talks about changing it from ADA based to enrollment based. We don't know really how all of these would pan out. And like I said, the deadline for new bills to be introduced at the legislative level is February 28th. There might be more that we would see.
Thank you. So that means the budget we got allocated this year is based on the 1920 numbers?
It's still based on, yes, because this is the year that we would end that provision. In previous reports, I talked about a cliff. That cliff is expected in 22-23 unless something changes at the state level.
I see. Thank you. That's my question.
Do any other board members have questions? Okay, member panelists, do you have any questions?
No questions, just appreciation for all the work that Ms. Heldman has put together to make sure that we understand how our budget is moving and changing. And hopefully we won't have to be jumping off that cliff when that time comes, because we're going to be proactive, right, Ms. Heldman?
Yes, as we always are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Heldman, for your informative presentation, and we look forward to see what happens. Right. The next item on our agenda is 10.2, calendar updates. Dr. Thompson, do you want to take this one?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier in my report on or my presentation, we are recommending moving and rescheduling some events and some meetings that we've had. If you go to the attachment on that page, you'll see that what we're recommending moving, the original date and then the new date, and that there are, unless there are any objections or comments or wishes to change, we'll just go ahead and update the calendar with these new dates, if that's okay. But it's an opportunity to discuss them here now if you'd like.
No, I actually appreciate that, because I know we have staff shortage, so it makes sense. Thank you so much for thinking about this. I appreciate it.
Do any other members of the board does anybody have any conflicts with these dates?
Give me just a second.
A second, okay.
Sorry, I should have done this earlier.
Okay, so I'll just read it out. So our communication and advocacy committee was originally scheduled for Thursday, January 13th. The new date would be Thursday, January 20th. Our board study session for the facilities plan was on Wednesday, January 19th. Move it to Tuesday, February 22nd. Our policy review committee was scheduled Tuesday, January 25th. We're moving it to Tuesday, February 1st. Our celebrating schools, the first session, which was on Tuesday, February 1st, would be moved to Tuesday, March 29th. And our quarterly governance study session was not previously scheduled, but is now proposed for Tuesday, April 26th, 2022.
The only thing that I can catch right now is February 22nd could be tough for me, maybe because I might have a conflict, but I will check and I'll see if I can move that conflict. But let's go for it for now. I mean, the worst comes to worst.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, the celebrating schools, March 29th. That might be difficult for me.
Well, that is totally understandable.
Different type of celebration.
Different type of celebration, future student celebration. Member Callis, do you have any conflicts that we need to know?
No, those are all fine. They're all Tuesdays except for the first Thursday. So they're fine. I'm good with them. Thank you.
The consensus is to move forward with the new calendar.
If there is a need, depending upon the COVID situation, staff situation, I am open for that. We need to change it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Everything's pretty fluid right now.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to our next item, 10.3, items from the board and superintendent. Do you want to go first, Dr. Tom?
Sure. Not much of this one, just again, a big thank you to our classified certificated staff members in schools every day, doing your best to help our kids out, and then our principals and some of the staff, Sherry and our nurse, have just been doing a fantastic job of really trying to balance things out. I think a typical day right now begins about 6 a.m. with everybody trying to get together and Scott's team and just trying to figure out how to move staff around and try to meet needs, and they vary every day. So thank you to everybody for doing that. On a very positive note, we have the New Haven Scholarship Foundation Gala this Saturday. It's virtual again, so if you can log in and join, that would be great. There's some of the classic auction items are back, and some new ones are there as well. So we have Wally, your auction host again. It's always interesting to do that online. And Brian Copeland is the host. He's a local writer and comedian. So anyway, you can join that. Please do. And the Promethean board, I want to thank Ms. Ramirez for the overview. And Frank shared with me that I think we're in the last day or two of rollout, and then every classroom will have one. So that'll be nice. And that's it for me.
Okay, student member Calderon, would you like to go next?
Sure, thank you. Plenty of different things happening at Logan. Well, first off, everybody knows that, or hopefully everybody does, that each household can receive their 4 free tests. That is on the USPS website, so you can go ahead and get your test mailed to your house. I think it's late January, they start getting shipped out. So with the COVID surge, we had a dance club fair and a movie night that was postponed at Logan. Those are pending updates as we kind of navigate through what we're going through. So that'll be an interesting thing to see how we adapt to. Skit season is approaching. For those that don't know what skit is, it is a big play that we host at Logan. Each grade level does their own different theme with their own different backstory that kind of runs with their class themes and our school theme. It's a great opportunity for our high school students to pursue maybe some acting they like, show some artistic creativity, even dancing, and then everybody that participates or helps in some way gets community service hours. So mark those off your to-do list of requirements to graduate. Soul to Soul, the nonprofit that I work with when you're flooded in shoes. So thank you for everyone that has donated, from our staff members to our community members, families. We've received quite a bit of donations. Our bin is filled right now. I actually have to go back to school tomorrow and dump that out into our room. That way I can get that sent over to our other facilities so we can go ahead and donate those out to the community. So thank you everyone for that. Last but not least, with COVID, everybody has a lot of mixed feelings about what's going on right now. It's totally understandable. But I just want to be on the positive side and thank our district staff, our board members, the executive cabinet, all of our teachers, administrators, classified, certificated, but most especially our parents and students for every day trying to make it through. Students, it's not easy. I understand the pain. I'm going through it myself, but every day, wake up, try to have some optimism, continue with your day. Hopefully, at least one thing about being at school will put a smile on your face. Parents, I understand the worries. Unfortunately, a lot of things are out of our control, but what is in our control, I've seen firsthand our district is trying their very, very best. So thank you for that. Be considerate with what our district is doing. And I know we had students earlier share for public hearing. I also wanted to address that a team of us at Logan, the Student Initiative Committee that I had started this year with about 50 student members. We have just completed a student concern survey, and right now we're waiting for the James Logan administrative team to kind of review the survey, provide any input that they may seek. We also have a school site council meeting this Thursday. So I probably will be asking for some of our school site council members at Logan to review that. As that's a survey we plan to primarily hold at Logan, and then take it from there, see what things we can work on. It's all student-based, it's a student-made survey. So other than that, continue to stay safe, get tested at our facilities. If you do believe in vaccination, that is always an option for you. Other than that, stay safe. I love seeing all the positivity on social media. I do know that we see some other things, but let's just take this day by day, support each other, work together. That's what our district's about. Been in the district for 11 years. Not once have I ever heard of us not supporting each other. So if we can continue to support each other, especially through these trying times, I highly encourage it and thank everybody here. As you guys all know, the things that my family, myself have been going through. So other than that, thank you everybody for all your positivity and remain safe, please.
Thanks. I've got nothing to report.
Go ahead.
Oh, I said-
Nothing. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, Member Callis, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. Again, I would like to thank the students and parents for their patience and continued support during this challenging year as we navigate and make sure that everybody is safe and healthy. I would also like to give you the website for how to access the free COVID test. It's covidtests.gov. If you type that and click on it, it only takes 2 minutes to put your name and address, and they will be sending you the free 4 sets of free COVID tests. And I think that's great news because that will eliminate a lot of the lines that are happening in many places. Also, I would like to share that the foundation scholarships will be available to students pretty soon. I think Trustee Nishihara might have the timeline on when the deadlines are for students to apply so that they could access scholarships. That would be it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll circle back to you, Trustee Nishihara, about the deadline for applications.
I was gonna do that during the foundation.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, Trustee Gonzalez, do you have anything?
Nothing special, just want to commend our student member, Mr. Collin, his positivity on social media as well as here, and going through a lot of stuff himself. So one thing kind of bothered me, our students' testimonies this board meeting about sexual harassment or that kind of stuff in our high school and elementary school. So that we need to have some kind of plan or immediate action to address that, so that we appreciate that. Other than that is during the first 2 weeks, a lot of parents, they called me because the information coming from the various sources is so confusing, and some of them, their reasons, they were valid, or some of them, they just simply, because there's so much going on in the family, they simply they want to vent out and have some information. So I just want to remind all of us and the community that this is the time that is testing our patients. But we should not lose the patient. So this is the time that we act in the best possible manner and listening to his concerns. Thank you.
All right, that leaves me. So, first of all, this is my first meeting as the new school board president, so thank you to all the staff and to Dr. Thompson, and especially to Ms. Valdez, our wonderful executive assistant, for making this transition seamless. And second, I really want to acknowledge the tragedy that happened recently in Tonga, and that we have many, many community members and students who are Tongan, might have family that they're waiting to hear from. And, you know, when I first saw the tsunami warning, I knew it was a volcanic eruption. I didn't know it was so close to Tonga. And so my heart goes out to you. Please reach out if you're in our district, if you need support to staff, and I'm sure that they will take good care of you. Let me get to my notes. I have more notes. Okay. So again, I really want to thank our staff, because I know we've all been working such long hours. And I want to thank our students for being patient and bearing with us through all of this. And just acknowledge, you know, the collective trauma for everybody. Students, parents, our community, all of our staff, teachers, administrators, everyone that we've gone through in the last few years, just trying to survive this pandemic. And that we're all doing our best, and that we all need to continue to come together as a community to support one another through this difficult time. And that we all need to do our best to make sure that we don't have to worry about this for much longer, you know, whether it's getting vaccinated, wearing your mask, testing, staying home if you can, all of those things, so that we as a community can recover. And then I was going to say something about the COVID tests, but that's been covered. I went ahead and applied today, just so we have them. You know, you get 4 tests per household. So everybody should apply, even if you don't think you need them, because maybe your neighbor has 6 people in their household and you can give them 2 tests. You never know. And that's it for me. Okay. All right, our committee reports. So this is section 11, item 11.1 would be the report from the Budget and Finance Committee, and that would be Trustee Cameras and Trustee Gonzalez.
We have nothing to report.
Okay, is there the next meeting?
Unless Michael has. We do not have a date for the next meeting.
Okay, great. 11.2 will be the report from the Communication and Advocacy meeting.
Oh, okay, did you want me to, or you got it?
Well, go ahead.
Okay, so the last meeting was on December 20th. We covered the district website, the school website, templates, as well as the brand guidelines. So we finalized that. You'll notice that there's new brands popping up all over the place. We got new business cards, so we're well on our way to rebranding the district. It'll take a little bit of time. We had to reschedule the meeting from last Thursday to this Thursday. So the next meeting will be this Thursday, January 20th, between 5 and 6:30, virtual.
Thank you. Our next one is a report from the Policy Review Committee, which is myself and Member Gonzalez. We don't have anything to report. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January. No, that's not the right date. February 1st. Thank you. We changed it. Okay, 11.4 would be other committee reports, and I know that Trustee Nishihira has planned for you and School Foundation.
All right, I will cover the foundation. 2 topics. First is the gala. The gala, as Superintendent Thompson said, is this Saturday virtually. It starts at 5:30. The pre-show starts at 5:30. It actually starts at 6. The MC will be Brian Copeland. There'll be various live auctions to fund classrooms and scholarships for our graduating seniors. There'll be a variety of different types of awards given out, like the Tom Pidiama Business Award and the Guy Emmanuel Service Award, and there's going to be some other special recognitions and some surprises. All right, so hopefully everybody can attend that. Second topic is the scholarship program. The last day for the 2021 scholarship recipients to collect their funds from last year will be January 31st. And then January 15th, scholarship commitments and qualifications will be coming in from the sponsors. But the important part is that February 1st is when the student application periods open. That's when the seniors can browse all of the different scholarships and apply for them. And then they have until March 1st application. So basically February 1st through March 1st is when the applications are being submitted. There are other dates, but those are the ones that are most relevant to most people. And that is it from the foundation.
I actually have two questions.
Sure.
One. Oh. First. Go ahead.
I have a question for Mr. Nishihara. Are you still accepting scholarships for people who might want to sponsor scholarships?
You mean to create new sponsorships?
Yeah, in case somebody who's listening right now might want to create a new scholarship. Are they still accepting them?
I believe through it says scholarship. The date says the 15th, but I'm sure if you contact the foundation, I'm sure we could probably work something out. There is a link on the foundation website, nhsfoundation.org. There is, I believe in the menu, there's an option to, under scholarships, to create a new scholarship. That's one way, that's how you would start the process.
Got it, thank you.
But if somebody really wants to create one, I'm sure that the executive director won't turn anybody down.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I think you already answered my first question, which was where can someone buy tickets and join the auction? What would be the NHSF?
NHSfoundation.org.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in the header, there's a menu. I believe it's called scholarships, and I think apply for a new, not apply for a scholarship.
For the Gala.
Oh, for the Gala. Okay, sorry. The question was
where people can find that information.
Oh, okay.
It's the website.
Yeah, in the website, and then you go under events, and then the first item under events is the Diamonds in Education Gala.
Okay, perfect. And then for the procrastinators amongst our students, what is the cutoff time on March 1st?
Wow. I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna give any actual information until I can verify it from the executive director.
Okay, great. I'm sure our student member Tom can help disseminate that information. Yeah. I just know I was one of those students.
I'm gonna probably say you're probably gonna want to get it before midnight on that day.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. Okay, and then do we have any other committee reports? No?
Trustee Mallory, did you want to share about the AXPA?
Oh, yes, totally do. Okay. Let me get my calendar because I want to make sure I'm correct. Okay, AXPA is having our first meeting of the year on January 27th at 6 p.m. This will be virtual in light of all the current issues with COVID. We had hoped to have it in person, but Omicron dashed those hopes. And we'll have a special guest speaker, Assemblymember Bill Quirk, at our meeting. So please join us on that day. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. We are to section 12. Action items. 12.1 is the Board of Education is requested to adopt resolution number 029-2122, African American History Month, February 2022. Do you want to have someone to read the resolution? Christine Schuber.
I'd be happy to. Okay, New Haven Unified School District Resolution 029-2122, African American History Month, February 2022. Whereas February is proclaimed as National African American History Month in honor of Americans of African descent who helped develop our nation in countless ways, and whereas the history and contributions of African American citizens have been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the curriculum of the public education institutions, and whereas African Americans have consistently led the charge for justice and a governance system that is truly by the people, for the people, as the U.S. Constitution states, and whereas African American communities continue to be plagued by injustices today, and continue to march and participate in every effort to secure, protect, and maintain the essence and substance of American democracy as reflected by California Ed Code Section 37220, Section 2, which establishes the third Monday in January to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his role in the civil rights movement, and California Education Code Section 37221D, which establishes March 5th as Black American Day to commemorate the anniversary of the death of Crispus Attucks, the first African American martyr of the Boston Massacre. And whereas awareness of the systemic marginalization of African American communities has never been greater due to tragic events such as the killing of George Floyd, the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, and the new focus on racial justice and equity by our federal government. And whereas it is important that the curriculum in our schools at every grade level reflects the experiences of people of different racial, religious, and ethnic groups, so that students have the opportunity to understand the common humanity underlying all groups, develop pride in their own identity and heritage, and to understand, respect, and accept the identity and heritage of others. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the New Haven Unified School District commemorate February as African American History Month with appropriate instructional activities to recognize the countless contributions that African Americans have made in helping our nation achieve greatness, passed and adopted on the following day, called on this vote on the 18th day of January 2022.
May I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 029-2122, African American History Month, February 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. For my contribution to the discussion since Monday was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I'd like to read one of my favorite quotes. We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. And Dr. King wrote this from the Birmingham jail in 1963. Is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Calderon.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Chima.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Swing Mallory.
Aye. Okay, number 12.2 is resolution number 030-2122, supporting a citywide tobacco retail licensing ordinance in the cities of Union City and Hayward. So the County Board of Education, our Board of Education has requested to approve this resolution supporting a citywide tobacco retail licensing ordinance in the cities of Union City and Hayward. May I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 030-2122, supporting a citywide tobacco retail licensing ordinance in the cities of Union City and Hayward.
I move.
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, just for the minutes, who made the motion, who seconded?
I think I did. I don't know. I can't tell because there's an echo on my end.
I think on my end, I heard Clerk Chima first and then Member Cameron. If anybody else heard anything different. Okay. Roll call, please.
Calderon.
Aye.
Chambliss.
Aye.
Mira. Aye. Chima.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Swedmiller.
Aye. Okay, item 12.3. Resolution number 031-2122, approval of membership to the district's Citizens Bond Oversight Committee for Measure M. We're being requested to approve Mr. Agnak Agbuya, who is a member active in business organizations, representing the business community located within the district. May I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 031-2122, approval of membership to the district Citizens Bond Oversight Committee for Measure M?
So moved.
One second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Yes.
Thank you so much for acting on to complete our astral for the Bond Oversight Committee, CBO. Black Helmet. I was just looking into the minutes and when I say in the resolutions, a member active in a business organization representing the business community located within the district. I was looking for the name of the business organization he is active in. I did not find that. Which business organization this member of the community is active in?
It is in the application.
See.
We don't attach that in here. It's the resolution that we.
Okay, thank you. I will appreciate that if in the future if you name that organization, please active member of in for our information. Thank you.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Calderon.
Aye.
Chambliss.
Aye.
Mira.
Aye.
Chima.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Swedmiller.
Aye. Item 12.4, resolution number 032-2122, approval of the purchase of hardware, software, and services to maintain server-based programs. Do I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 032-2122, approval of the purchase of hardware, software, and services to maintain server-based programs?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion? Tim.
I was reading into the resolution and I felt like, I don't know, I would like to know from the superintendent if we are on par with the other education community within the county, or we are late in implementing this cloud-based technology. I feel like, this investment of this money into the old system, it seems kind of not adequate to me. But if you have any thing related to this, please share.
Yes, so I mean, eventually, most of our programs will shift to cloud-based. Right now, we're probably between 5 and 10 years away from actually making that happen, based on some of the limitations. Primarily, as I understand it, from some of the vendors that we use and other ones that we're shifting to. So it's a process. And unfortunately, we need to, well, not unfortunately, we need to make these upgrades in order to keep our data management center running and operating for the next 5 years or so or more.
So because New Haven used to be like ahead of in terms of the technology implementation, how about the other schools? Do you have any idea that other school districts are there yet?
We all use very similar programs, and so we're all in the same boat, one way or the other. We're trying to aggressively shift away from having our own servers and shift into having them based either in the cloud or offsite. Right, can I get that right? It would.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson, and board members, and board president Sean Mallory. And that's basically the case is that we always, and all school districts need a certain amount of server-based hardware. You know, for example, like our food services system, they don't have a fully web-based system yet. It requires server. Now, I would like us as we move forward to reevaluate that every year. And eventually we hope to get there, but it's going to take several years. So, all the school districts, I'm in pretty good contact with many of the other school districts. And we're all in the same way. We're all moving to that platform.
Is it fair to say, I mean, as my understanding is, as we move, one thing that will make the transition and migration from on-premise services to cloud-based services, one of the key linchpins there, which is the hardest part, is moving over to Aries as being one of the primary building blocks. Would it be fair to say that since we are moving to a much more modern SIS, do you think that that could potentially accelerate the migration of the off-prem services?
That's a really good example, and we've already kind of done that because in this past year we also adopted the hosted version of Q. Before it was completely on the data center,
right? And
we moved to the hosted version of Q. So that actually let us shut down 8 separate servers. So it would have been 47 individual servers or 48, and we dropped that down to about 40. So the data center that we're looking to get is smaller, commensurate to that.
Okay.
But that is the perfect example of what we're trying to do. So, you know, eventually we would love to be serverless, which is an industry standard, where just about everything is internet-based or cloud-based. But again, that's not an overnight process, unfortunately.
Thank you so much for explaining it to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman.
Aye.
Camus.
Aye.
Dira.
Aye.
Tina.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Sweat Mallory.
Aye. Our next item is item 12.5, consideration of student number 1 recommendation for expulsion in compliance with Ed Code section 48918C. May I have a motion and a second to expel student number 1?
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
No.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Camus.
Aye.
Dira.
Aye.
Chima.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Sweat Mallory.
Aye. Okay, and then items 12.6 and 12.7. May I have a motion and a second to readmit students number 2 and 3?
So moved.
Second. Okay, roll call, please.
Camus.
Aye.
Dira.
Aye.
Chima.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Sweat Mallory.
Aye. Our next item is 12.8, certificated substitute rate increase. The board is requested to approve an increase to the certificated substitute rate. May I have a motion and a second to approve the certificated substitute rate increase?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
It was moved by trustee Tina and Camus and seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Okay, do we have any discussion?
I'm glad that you're there.
I'm sorry?
I'm just glad that you're there. Remember we were suggesting then
Yeah.
was going to be the next. I know it's not a good thing, but yeah, okay.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Mr. McNamara, what is, how is that rate compared with other neighboring district?
Under Callis, that this will make us competitive with most of our neighboring districts. One of the things that triggered this was that Newark had raised their rate up to this level, so we had to make sure we're at least competitive with them. Most of the districts are in this range. The $200 range is kind of the standard now, except for Fremont, which is a little bit higher because they're the.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Calderon. Aye. Callis.
Aye.
Aye.
Chima. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Swin Mallory.
Aye. Our next item is 12.9, approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Alameda County Office of Education to purchase bicycles for our unsheltered students. May I have a motion and a second to approve the memorandum of understanding between NHUSD and Alameda County Office of Education to purchase bicycles for our unsheltered students?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Clerk Chima and then a second by Trustee Callis. Any discussion? Question?
I'm just curious at how this program got initiated. It's a good program. I'm glad that they're doing it. Just
I think it came to us from I don't know, Mr. Zani, do you want to address it or
Yeah, the recommendation came to us from the Alameda County Office of Education through the Union City Family Center to be aware of it that way and work through that process in order to make the arrangements to provide this for our students.
Any more questions? No. Question? Okay, roll call, please.
Calderon. Aye. Callis.
Aye.
Aye.
Chima. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Swin Mallory.
Aye. We are now on section 13, our consent agenda. Are there any items which board members would like to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion and a second to approve items 13.1 through 13.12 on our consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, there are two people there, so roll call, please.
Calderon. Aye. Callis.
Aye.
Sierra.
Aye.
Chima. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Swin Mallory.
Aye. Section 14, our governance review, assessment of governance procedures and protocols. Do you have any feedback? Clerk Chima.
able us to meet the session. Thank
you very much. Anyone else? Okay, I would just like to have a friendly reminder that for the board that we ask for a question of staff ahead of the meeting, unless we think that the public should hear them and the answers as well. All right, 15.1, board member requests of staff. Are there any board member requests of staff? Yes, Trustee Shadura.
Yep, got a couple. First one is there's currently talks of renaming facilities here in New Haven. What I would like the staff to do is start to dust off the administrative regulations for BP 7310 regarding the facilities naming and just become reacquainted with it as we start to embark on this process. That was number one. Is that pretty clear? Yeah. Okay, and then second one is the items today during public comments were actually very troubling. What I want to say is that student safety and the feeling of being safe is and should be the priority for everybody on this board for our students. I would love it if we were to have an administrator reach out to the two clubs. I think there were two clubs. There was the Students Against Sexual Harassment and the Girl Up Club. And if there was one that I missed there also as well, I would love it if an administrator had a sit down with those clubs, with student board member Kalani Calderon present, and to report back to the board the findings and details. Obviously, no No personally identifiable student data should be discussed or identity should be discussed, but I think it really would help if the board had a little bit more context into the statements that were made today. That would be my request. And the third one, I did have this up on consent several meetings ago, but today's resolution regarding the purchasing of bicycles kind of jogged my memory, and that was to follow on the City of Union City Master Bicycle Pedestrian Master Plan that was discussed at several meetings back. I think we just wanted to see and make sure that the two organizations were collaborating, because it's very important that students have options to be able to get to school, and bicycle and pedestrian paths are something that we should really investigate. Thank you.
Okay, so we would need consensus on the items, right? Okay, and to the consensus report.
The first one is just and I think I've received some of the emails too, so we can take a look at board. You're just asking us to take a look at the board. Yeah, that's not a problem. Make sure we got them directly or properly. And then I know Mr. Pisani's already emailed me with some information related. We'll follow up on those comments. We have an interest in doing the same. So, and provide a report. I think that's something we were planning on doing anyway, so I don't think we need that. Since on the third one, and I know, Ms. Hellman, I don't know if this jogs your memory too. I think this is something that we talked about. It was a Union City. They had the transportation plan they were working on, and we were, I believe, if I remember correctly, this was prior to our facilities master plan being done, and we were going to try to see if we were going to.
Yes.
Yeah, they had their general plan update. We have our facilities master plan. We're trying to see if there's any.
We did provide the link of the city plan to the architects, and that was incorporated with regards to more bike riding, more walking to schools, additional bike racks. So it was considered with regards to the master plan.
What follow-up would you like to see?
I think part of it was I wanted to understand how our current staff, because I think that bicycle and pedestrian plan was drafted over the period of a long time, and in it had mentioned collaboration with the school district, and I don't actually recall any collaboration with the school district, at least none that I was aware of, and I think I was on board during the time of the writing of it. So just getting some clarity on what our inputs were and what our, just understanding a little bit more about how we were involved with that, because it is something that is important. I just want to make sure that our schools are being represented.
I mean, that's something that I think the board can get behind that, right? So that's okay. And then Ms. Elman, I might ask for your assistance on that one.
I believe that you did mention that the district was interfacing with them in some way. Do you remember what that was?
I think it was prior to our facilities master plan being adopted, but I don't recall. We haven't had any direct meetings with them about that. So
I think it might have been prior to your tenure.
Maybe so.
I'm just seeing that it was already adopted on November 23rd.
Right.
So the plan's been adopted by the city.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll see what we can.
Fatima, do you remember us discussing that with the city in any of our joint meetings?
What's different about the bicycle?
No. Okay.
It's one element of the
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Any other items from the board?
Yeah. A few years ago, we started talking about increasing and incorporating the role of women in history in our curriculum. So I'm just wondering if we could get an update soon on how is that going? Is it really being implemented in the classroom? Are women included in the curriculum as far as history is concerned?
It sounds like Mr. Pisani, we can give an update on that. Is that?
I can provide an update. As a result of the resolutions that over time, over the course of the school year, that continues to be presented and approved by the board, we have assembled a group of teachers to be able to vet curricular materials that we are developing on our website, soon to be launched, since we passed a resolution for our Black History Month in February being our first. That will create an archive for all of our teachers and be publicly accessible for elementary, middle, and high school as we matriculate through the year and pass resolutions. That resource will continue to be developed over time. So Mr. Matos has been meeting with this group of teachers. They've engaged in that work together. And we are ready at this point now that we passed, for example, tonight, the Black History Resolution. We will begin to archive and develop that over time. We're slated in March, obviously, for a Women's History Month, being the next one coming up, and they've already began working on that as well.
Okay, but is there an update on how much actually is being implemented? The last conversation we had when this started out was that the students were mentioning they couldn't find names of women in their textbooks. They couldn't find pictures of women in their classroom bulletin boards and so on. So if I walked in the classroom, will there be some kind of evidence that women are included in the curriculum? Just an update. I mean, you don't need to answer that question right now. I'm just saying that at some point we need to have a quantitative update of how that is moving forward.
Okay, I mean, we have board adopted curriculum that you'd be looking for something. I don't ever remember having this conversation, so I looked through my notes.
Yeah, you were not there when we started it out.
Okay, I think maybe Ms. Gillis, if you could follow it and send perhaps send me an email with more. I mean, again, we have our board adopted curriculum, we have supplementary materials. I'm not too sure what else we would be looking for. Or I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, because right now we don't have any, other than the board adopted curriculum, I'm not aware of any efforts to enhance what we have with anything else. So I guess that's your answer. So there isn't really anything in addition to what Mr. Design mentioned that's happening other than, keep trying to keep our curriculum up to date with state approved curriculum.
Can I add? I think what Mr. Zani has reported, I think it's a step forward than just passing the resolution, having this resolution accessible to the staff. So that's a good effort. But I think Trustee Dallas is asking for more. Yeah, definitely.
And that's not an initiative that we have undertaken in any way that I'm aware of. I mean, we go through a vetting process to adopt curriculum that's state approved, that's required to be used in the classrooms. And then there's supplementary materials adopted with it. I know we have a lot of female authors, for example, for supplemental materials for both language arts and history. But other than that, that's it. There's nothing, there's no other initiative that we're undertaking other than, again, what Mr. Design mentioned. I keep looking up like she's up there.
I know, it's the voice of God. Trustee Callis, does that satisfy your question, or do you want more of a report here?
Well, I think at this point, I'm fine with that. I think my issue right now is if you look at the history books, there are a lot of names that you could find that are male, the male contributed into history, but you do not see a lot of that, including women. I guess when you said they will be adding resources in the classrooms that shows contribution of women, that would be a good start. But it just kind of sad that after all this hundreds of years and women were part of history and they're still not reflected in our classrooms, in our classroom curriculum in more ways than one. It's just really disappointing. So I'm hoping that having just resources is not going to be enough for us moving forward. And at some point we will actually do something and include what women have contributed in our history, because they were there. They're just not mentioned.
Well, that's something we can certainly, when we go through the curriculum adoption process, as you know, we have a cycle that we go through. That's something that we can absolutely consider as we're going through that for all of the curriculum we adopt.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I do remember the conversation. I think we had a speaker one time. I forgot the name.
Rosie Rios.
Yeah. So what we discussed actually is we passed all those resolutions. So during the month of the resolution, if our teachers, if possible, if our teachers can have some kind of activity once in a month or so to educate the people. That's what I remember. Yeah, not the curriculum part. Yeah.
And that's what we have a group of teachers working with our staff on that.
Right. Hold on just a second, because this piggybacks off of what we were talking about, unless yours is on the same subject. Okay, first thing is I was going.
Yeah, so just let's talk of Women's History Month. Just made me think of my own curriculum, what I do in my classroom, and have the students research. But just coming to mind the significant women that I went to school with. You know, there's famous singers. You know, MD, Angelina Camarillo, Kelly White, Olympic gold medal winners. You know, there's a lot of significant women that came out of these schools that students should be researching and reporting on, presenting on, and so put that together. And I do that in my own, in Hayward, the significant people, the women that came out of there, and I put that together, and the kids research that. So that should be something we already have together in play for students to research a collection of. And I can refer to Mr. McNamara. I'm sure he's got a collection or historian here that can easily put together, and including his mother on there, you know, put on there. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Trustee Gonzalez. I mean, I kind of like to push this request a little further because as Mr. Pisani was saying, we have all these resolutions we pass on an annual basis. We know they're coming up, right? Like Black History Month, Women's History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month. You are all working very diligently on supplemental materials and resources for teachers to use. So one request would be to get updates, regular updates from Mr. Pisani on which lists are done. Right, we started this back in October with LGBT History Month. So just to report back when you finish the list, that would be nice to get regular updates. And then, and I'm not saying you have to do it now, but just regular updates every month. If you finished another list, hey, we finished this list. And then another thing would be to maybe have like a little information item or something for each resolution, where we get to see pictures or something, report back of what has been happening in the classrooms for the different history months. I know we have our great, wonderful social media guy who goes into the schools and takes pictures all the time. So I think it would be a lovely addition to our agendas to include, you know, so for next month, have pictures of and kind of reports on what was done in the classrooms to celebrate African American History Month. Mr. Pisani, you want to say something?
If I can respond as well. Our initial planning of this process was to meet with our teachers to archive these resources, create the website, which will be open and active to all of our staff members as well as community members to have access to this information. And the way that Kim Pettit, who is one of our Teachers on Special Assignment, has created the infrastructure, each of the resolutions have a separate block and resources will be attached to that block and linked. And then we were also going to leverage our social media platforms that once it's developed to advertise on a monthly basis, the accessibility to those resources to our community and staff.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just requesting, and I don't think it's a huge ask, is that we just are up to date on this project and maybe have like a few pictures or some report from.
Yeah, that should be doable. I think we can do that. It's probably less a matter of doing it and more a matter of just making sure we're sharing it. So Victor's been really good about it. He's already been doing that for some of the resolutions that have been passed. And so yeah, that should not, I think if all goes well, we wouldn't even need to, you know, it'll become so routine, you'll just see it on our social media and whatnot, it'll become part of what we're doing. So Yeah, we can share the updates as we move along, which should be pretty easy to do.
Yeah, and to clarify, I just think it'd be nice to have some pictures for us to see at the meeting so that we know that our resolutions are having an effect in the classroom. Not just on social media.
Right,
We
okay.
can allot 5 minutes for that, right?
Yeah, I'll put it down.
Okay, great. And then also with all of the students who spoke tonight, first of all, that was very wonderful, very brave and very amazing that they came and spoke to us. I know it can be hard to speak before a governing body. So especially as a young person, and I know that there's already you're already looking into this, sitting down with the clubs and reporting back. I'd like to take that at another level. I heard a lot of several asks during comments tonight. And some of them I heard was, teaching consent starting in elementary and going through high school, having activities more frequently to create a safe space, and monthly reminders about the domestic violence hotline. I also heard dealing with this issue in extracurricular activities, making sure that reports are not pushed aside, that we give students who are victimized more support, and that we discipline the violators, and that we talk about SA and SH hyphenating because, trigger warnings, in life skills curriculum, and that there be a restorative justice program in regard to the survivor, and looking into allegations that teachers or staff make jokes or don't take issues seriously with the investigations. Those are the ones I heard tonight. You may have written down more. What I would like to request is that we have a staff report back on what we can do to accommodate these requests.
We're gonna have to take a little deeper dive in it. I mean, again, we just heard this tonight in a matter of a series of comments, so we're gonna have to take a deeper dive to figure out what what's going on. And I'll have to get back to you.
Okay. I'm assuming we have consensus on that. Okay. So each of the things that we heard tonight and whatever we hear from the students going forward, that we really look into it and make sure that, that we're creating a safe space for our students.
To add to your list that you just, great list, by the way, there was the allowing the perpetrators to continue in co-curriculars. You mentioned that, but I think that was a very specific thing that.
Yeah, I know. Let's all take a step back and remember there's a process for all of this, and that we have rules and regulations we have to follow. And there are times where things don't work out and someone wouldn't like to see someone excluded, or we simply can't do that. So we have to be careful.
Understood. I was just making sure that the list was.
We'll take a deep dive, and they're already doing a lot of things over there. They're working with these clubs already. So we'll clearly these are still important issues for the women representing these clubs and for the other women out there who didn't speak up. And we'll take it seriously. And again, we haven't shied away from this from the beginning of the year when this first came out. And we will continue to work with the clubs and the girls over there and others and to see what we can do to help them and support them. And we'll report back about it.
Okay, yeah, I think that's why we're asking for the report, because obviously it's not always black and white. Yeah. And I just want to mention that, even though it's statistically more likely that young women are victims of these things, young men are, and young non-binary people as well. So that's what I'll say. All right, any more requests? All right, and with that, are we adjourning in honor of anybody? Yes, I was thinking about that one. Okay, I'd like to adjourn in honor of the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.